Alright, this is a review of exponent laws. I'm just going to go over 6 different laws that you have to remember when working with exponents. So the first one is when we have product of powers. So when we have a base, an exponent, okay, and we multiply it by a number with the same base but different exponent. Okay, remember the bases have to be the same. If the bases are the same, exponent law allows us to keep the base and then just add the exponents together. Okay, so an example of this would be if I have x to the power of 7 times x to the power of 5. This will be simplified to x to the power of 12 because I'm just adding the exponents together. Okay, most of the times you won't see multiplication symbol like this. It will more likely look like maybe brackets like this, and then you just add the exponents together because it means to multiply. It only works for when you're multiplying. When you're adding, it doesn't work. Okay, if you had x squared plus x cubed, you can't add the exponents together. This can't be simplified any further. Okay, so this stays as the original form. Okay, so when you're multiplying powers with the same bases, you can add the exponents together. Right? The next one is when you are dividing. So I have a power here, and let's say I'm going to divide it by another power with the same base. Okay, my base stays the same as a, and then with the exponents, I'm just going to subtract. Okay, so an example of this is if I have 5 to the power of 8 divided by 5 to the power of 2. Okay, this gives me, I keep the base and then I just subtract the exponents, 8 minus 2, and gives me 6. Okay, all right. Another one is when you have an exponent on top of another exponent. So if I have a base and I have an exponent to it and I have this power, and then I'm adding another exponent on top of that. Okay, so I'm raising n to the power of a to the m. Okay, so with this I need to multiply m and n. Okay, this ends up being m times n, and I just have a to the power of mn. Okay, example with numbers would be if I have 3 to the power of 3 and I raise it to 7, I just multiply 3 and the 7 together. I keep my base. 3 times 7 is 21. Right? And then another one is when you have brackets. Okay, so if I have, let's say, x times y in brackets, and I have a power of, let's do z. Okay, a number. Okay, I'm gonna apply that z to each term in here. Okay, so each variable in there. So I have x squared, x to the z to y to the z in this case. Okay, so it works the same if you have numbers. If I had 5 times 6 to the power of 4, that 4 is going to be applied to the 5 and the 6. Okay, this gives us 5 to the power of 4 times 6 to the power of 4. Okay, but you might notice, okay, but if we follow BEDMAS, why don't we do the things inside of brackets first? And you can. Okay, this will it will ultimately be the same thing as 5 times 6, which is 30 to the power of 4. Okay, it works the same when you have division, and this is raised to another exponent. That exponent gets applied to the x as well as the y. Okay, so if I have 2 over 3 to the power of 4, I'm going to apply that 4 to the 2 and the 3 like this. Okay, so that's what happens when you are working with brackets and exponents. Right? Lastly, we have anything to the power of anything with an exponent of 0 is 1. Okay, except for when your base is 0. Okay, So if I have 10 to the power of 0, it's 1. Okay? 2 to the power of 0 is going to be 1. Okay? Negative 5 to the power of 0 is 1. Okay? But if I have negative 5 to the power of 0 like this without a bracket, that exponent only applies to the 5, not the negative. So negative stays, 5 to the power of 0 gives us 1, so this actually becomes negative 1. Okay? If I have negative 1,726 to the power of 0, it's 1. Okay? In this case, that exponent applies to the negative as well, so I have a positive 1. If I had negative 1,726 to the power of 0, this 0 only applies to the number itself, not the negative, so I keep the negative, and the power, it is equal to 1. Okay, anything with the exponent of 0 is 1, except when your base is 0. So those are your exponent laws. If you want to practice, use the practice links that I posted. Okay, if you feel comfortable with this, move on to working with exponents in order of operations. And then once you're done your lessons, you guys can do the review under quizzes.